there were many days where I kid that I wanted to crawl under my desk and call Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma back and be like, hey, you haven't hired anybody to replace me yet, have you? Because it's just like, Lee.
How long into your coaching career did you feel like, because you mentioned, I felt like I was ready to be a head coach. When did that click? You're like, all right, it's time for the next step.
Good question. I can remember interviewing or having like a phone interview for a head coaching job at a smaller school back in 2008 or 9 when I was here at South Carolina, and you maybe think you're ready, but then you look back and you're like, oh, there's no way I could have been ready for that. So I think you always think you're ready. And even after 20 years of coaching, sitting in this chair, you're still never ready just because there's nothing to really prepare you for this job and what it entails. But really for me, being around Coach Spurrier here at South Carolina for 4 years was a great experience to go along with the coaches that I had worked with previously to that point. And then the 5 years that I spent at Virginia Tech with my dad were really beneficial. I was the running backs coach, but I was also the associate head coach. So, a lot of times that's just a title, but he really allowed me to do some things dealing with media, speaking engagements, things like that maybe help prepare me a little bit better. And then probably I would say maybe going to Georgia after that. I got a chance to work with Kirby Smart at Georgia in his very first year at Georgia. So I was able to see kind of how they implemented things at the University of Georgia on day one going into year one. And that was a really good experience for me as well. So I think I always felt like I was prepared and ready. With each step and each new opportunity, I got better and better prepared. And, and then certainly once I got to Virginia Tech, those interviews really started happening more frequently about head coaching jobs, whether it be at Virginia Tech or jobs I interviewed for at Georgia to be a head coach or Oklahoma. And then each time you interview, you may not get it or you may not take it, but you feel better prepared for the next interview and have a better idea of what to expect.
You feel like you're always ready, but then you're never quite ready until it happens. I've heard it's a whirlwind when someone gets the call, you get signed as a head coach, and then it just starts almost right away. What was the experience like for you? A whirlwind.
It was insane. So we had COVID at the time. And literally my last day getting out of quarantine was the day that I got the job. So I had been quarantining in like the upstairs room in our house in Norman, Oklahoma for however many days it was. The protocol's in 1410, I can't remember. But the night I get the call, my wife's like, you're getting out of quarantine tomorrow. We should get one of those like IVs where people come in and like put an IV in, just kind of pump you up and get you going, give you a little bit of energy. So I'm getting an IV in the house in Norman Saturday night. I get done with getting the IV. Phone call comes, get the job, offered the job. That was a very emotional moment. And then it was literally, this was like, 9, 10 o'clock on a Saturday night in Oklahoma. And South Carolina wants to send the school plane to pick me up the very next morning at like 8:30. So, you're ready to go to bed, but you realize like in less than 12 hours, you're getting on a plane, you're flying to South Carolina, you've got to get into this building, you got to meet with the current team, you got to meet with the existing coaching staff, you have to get on the phone with recruits, you got to try and keep these players on the current South Carolina team that you don't even know, you're trying to keep them from transferring, You're trying to hire a staff, not to mention you got a family back at home you're worried about. It was a lot. And then to get here, it was even more overwhelming, I'll be honest, than what I thought it would be. It was just one of those, you're running on fumes. I'm a list guy. Like I try and be like very organized and detailed and structured with my day. Okay, I got this, these 10 things I got to do. And I can remember like I'd come in early. I'm a morning person. I'd get in here really early. I'd have like my things I wanted to accomplish, and it would get to be 9 o'clock at night, and I hadn't touched a single thing on the list because there's so many other things that come around, and so many people want 5-10 minutes of your time, which I get it, but it was a whirlwind. There were many days where I kid that I wanted to crawl under my desk and call Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma back and be like, hey, you haven't hired anybody to replace me yet, have you? Because it's just like, Lee. But Dabo at Clemson, Dabo Sweeney, he called me probably like third day and just literally said, do you have your snorkeling gear and your scuba gear? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, hang in there. Like, I know you're swimming right now. I know it feels like you're drowning because there's so much coming at you. Just hang in there. It'll get better. And slowly but surely it did. But that's what I go back to what I said a minute ago. Like, you're never prepared for this job because there's so many things that being a head coach in the SEC entails that you don't even think about. That just particularly early on when just so many people are coming at you, and it's a lot. Text messages, phone calls. You're trying to return calls. You're trying to return texts, and not to mention, I went back to Oklahoma because we were playing in the conference championship game, and I wanted to finish what we started at Oklahoma too.
Yeah.
So I think I got here on a Sunday. I was here Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Went back to Oklahoma for like I don't know, a week maybe, and then I came right back, or maybe I came back for 4 days. I can't remember, but it was a busy time, but we made it through.